Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. I really hope you guys are all good. Today I am really excited to, I guess, kind of film the first in my moving related videos, but this one is obviously a bookish one, and this is all the books that I want to try and read before I move. So I'm filming this on Tuesday the 18th of July, and I'm hoping to move on Tuesday the 1st of August, which is literally 2 weeks today. Obviously still TBD, I haven't booked my flights yet because I'm just waiting on various bits of confirmation from the company that I'm going to be moving to out there. But yeah, that is kind of when I'm hoping to move, and if I don't move that week, it'll probably be the week after. So basically I have 2 or 3 weeks before I move. Today I wanted to share with you all the books that I want to read before I go. So without lots of rambling, I'm going to just jump in and start talking about books. Some of these I know the synopsis for, some of these I'm going in completely blind, so let's find out. So the first book that I'm wanting to finish before I move is Glint by Raven Kennedy. So this is the second book in the Plate of Prisoner series, and I believe it kicks off exactly where the first book finished, and I'm really excited actually to delve back into this world because the first book finished on such a huge cliffhanger, and I have been thinking about it non-stop since I read it, but I just wanted to wait a little bit before I started this one so I didn't like burn out on the series. But this is basically, for anyone who is not aware, it's a rough King Midas retelling, or it's based upon the King Midas legend or myth. And I can't actually even remember honestly what our main character's called, but she effectively had been turned to gold by King Midas, and she lived in this like a gilded cage in his castle as his, I guess, his like prisoner, kind of. So she is basically favoured above all the other women in his court, who are effectively courtesans and are typically used for him and his guests' pleasure, but she is reserved just for the pleasure of the king. And the first book basically just introduces us to King Midas, to his court, and to some of the political manoeuvres happening in the kingdom. I will not say anything more than that because it would be a huge spoiler for the end of the book, but let me just say, stuff happens and you're gonna want to read right to the end because that ending just so good, and I am so excited to see what happens in this one and to learn more about some characters that we get introduced to towards the end of book 1, because they are very interesting to me. I believe this is going to be hella spicy as well. The first book isn't, and I will say that it is supposed to be, I think, quite a slow burn series. So if you're wanting like an instant payoff with the romance, just be aware that in the first book you're not really going to get that, but I've heard good things about the rest of the series and that it gets very spicy very quickly. So next up we actually have a biography, and this is Know My Name by Chanel Miller, who is the survivor of the Stanford sexual assault case, and this is basically the case as told by her in her own words. I'm very interested to read this. Everybody says that it's an incredibly moving biography and a very interesting representation of the victims of kind of the rape culture crisis on college campuses across America and also in the UK. As a sexual assault survivor myself, I think this is going to be quite a tough book to read, but one that I'm very interested to read because I feel like it's probably going to be quite like affirming and quite almost reassuring, I suppose, that, you know, I'm not the only person feeling these feelings, and I'm hoping it will actually help me deal with some of the stuff that is still in my head 10 years later. So yeah, I'm excited to read this, but I'm also expecting to find it quite triggering. So I've been putting it off for a while, but I do want to read it before I go because it's just been on my mind a lot lately, and I've heard so many good things about this book, and I've heard so many people say like how moving and how incredible it is and how brave Chanel Miller is to have put herself out there and written this. So yeah, I'm nervous but excited. Then we have one that has literally been everywhere all over the internet for the past like 6 months, and that is Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow by Gabrielle Zevin. I know very little about this one aside from that it is literary fiction, and it follows 2 friends over the course of their lives as they build video games together. I believe that both of the main characters of this book are quite morally grey and a little bit unlikable, and honestly I think as I get older I enjoy reading characters like that more than any other because I feel like it is a truer representation of society and humanity and how we all are. You know, nobody's perfect, we all have our flaws, and reading characters that also represent that I think is so much more believable than reading these like perfect people who have their lives and their shit together. So I'm really excited to read this. People have said that it actually makes you cry and it's really moving, which I wasn't expecting, but I'm fully here for it. and I've seen a couple of booktubers do really great reading vlogs for tomorrow and tomorrow and tomorrow, so I will try and remember to leave them linked in the down bar for you so that you can check them out too, because I just love seeing other people's reactions to books like this. Like, this is what I love about reading the most, and what I love about sharing my reading and building a community on the internet is that we can all kind of bond over these shared experiences together. So I'm really excited to read this book, and I really hope I love it as much as everybody else seems to, because it's been calling my name for a while, you guys. It really, really has. Next up is probably the book that I'm maybe the most excited for on this list, and it's because I'm currently reading the first book in the duology, which by the time this goes live, I will have finished it and you guys will have seen my thoughts, because it has been in my most recent reading vlog, and that was Boyfriend Material. This is Husband Material by Alexis Hall. Now, because I'm currently reading the first book, I'm not going to look at the back of this book and see what happens or what it's about. I figure, like, I can tell from the title, honestly. But the first book, let me tell you, is giving 5 stars. It's been giving 5 stars since the opening line, and I'm just really annoyed that I have kind of slept on this duology for so long, because I've had it on my TBR for ages, and I knew that it was going to give me all the feels. I knew it was going to give me red, white and royal blue vibes, and it's so good. But this series basically follows Luke, who is the that's Oliver. So Luke is the reluctant son of 2 ex-pop stars from the 80s. His mum and his dad have both been divorced for quite a long time, and his dad left him when he was 3. So he's like harbored so many kind of daddy issues and general low self-esteem from those daddy issues for his whole life. And then we have Oliver, who is a barrister, who has kind of got his shit together from a totally different upbringing. They're kind of polar opposites. It's fake dating. So basically Luke is making a bit of a mess of everything. He works for a charity in the PR department, but he's been a little bit off the rails. He keeps getting photographed by the press in various uncompromising positions, and all the people are starting to pull out the charity fundraiser because of his behavior. So his boss says to him that he needs to basically improve his reputation or he gets fired. Enter Oliver, fake boyfriend of the year. It's so fucking good, you guys. Like, I am enjoying this more than I can put into words. It's so like funny and so bloody British, and I love it for that. So I think you guys will really enjoy it as well. This is the follow-up. It's called Husband Material, so I'm sure we can all guess what is being implied here. And I believe there is a 3rd book on the way at some point called Father Material, which I'm so excited for. But I'm just going to say that these guys are my favourite bookish couple that I've read all year, honestly. And I wasn't expecting to say that because I thought I'd already found my favourite romance of the year, but it turns out I was wrong. It's actually Luke and Oliver. So pick up Boyfriend Material, then pick up Husband Material, and you will thank me later. Then we have another book that I'm very excited for. We have Slaying the Vampire Conqueror by Carissa Broadbent. So this is set in the world of Nyaxia, but it is not a part of the Crowns of Nyaxia series. So this is kind of like a standalone in the same world. And I think it follows somebody who is blind who has to slay the vampire conqueror, but I'm assuming there is going to be a bit of a romance between the 2 of them from what I have kind of guessed from the synopsis. So for anyone who is unfamiliar, the Crowns of Nyaxia series is the Serpent and the Wings of Night, which has been doing the rounds on TikTok and BookTube and Bookstagram all year, and it's absolutely fantastic. I highly recommend picking up that duology. There's also a little novella as well that fits in the middle, which is fantastic, and then this is the standalone, and then I believe there's 2 further duologies that are going to be part of that series. So basically it's a very, very cool vampire world with different houses and different kind of like classes of vampires. It's amazing. It's so good. Their magic system's incredible, the world building's incredible, Carissa Broadbent's writing is absolutely outstanding, and I believe the series is being picked up traditionally as well, so if you want to get your hands on the self-published versions, now is the time to do it. Highly recommend, 10 out of 10. Can't wait to read this and just get back in the Nyaxia world, even though I have little to no idea what this is actually about. She was commanded to kill him with a single strike to the heart. She didn't expect her own to betray her. So there we go. Okay, 3 more books to talk to you guys about now. So the first one is Full Tilt by Emma Scott. I know very little about this, only that my mum bought it me for Christmas, and I just put it on my Christmas list based on like a billion people's recommendations. So this is compared, I think, quite a lot to Brightside by Kim Holden. So I'm guessing it's kind of like a very similar situation, boy-girl relationship, lots of things happen, and then something devastating at the end happens because everyone says this makes them sob like a little baby, and I kind of do feel like I need to cry at the moment, so that's honestly the only reason why I've added this to the list. So I believe This is Jonah and Casey. So I think Jonah is a security guard and Casey is a rock star, I think, and that's where their romance begins. And from the back of the book it says that Jonah Fletcher is running out of time. He knows his situation is hopeless and he's vowed to make the most of the handful of months he has left to him. So I'm assuming there is going to be some sort of awful terminal illness involved that is going to completely and utterly emotionally destroy me. I might vlog my reading experience with this one because God knows you guys need to see how much I cry if I cry as much as I think I'm going to. That was a very strange sentence. Anyway, either way, this I can't wait to read. I have been looking forward to reading it since Christmas and for some reason just haven't got around to it. So now is the time, because apparently right before you make a transatlantic move is the perfect time to make yourself sob hysterically. Makes sense. Then we have another one that I've actually managed to remain fairly blissfully ignorant about despite the hype, mostly because I wanted to go into it blind and not really kind of expecting too much from it. But that is Fourth Wing by Rebecca Yarros, which I believe is like a dragon rider fantasy romance involving some kind of like war battalion school and dragon riders and guilds and all sorts of fun fantasy things, which I love. This is also, I've been told, surprisingly spicy. So I'm kind of here for that too, but honestly I'm mostly just here for the dragons. I love me a dragon or a wyvern, a Braxos. But I love dragons, so that is why I got Fourth Wing. Also, I really was not going to buy this, honestly. This was going to be one of the things I bought in Barnes & Noble when I moved. But then I saw it in Waterstones today. And because it's been sold out for so long and it's still sold out in States, and I was like, oh, but I don't know if I'll be able to get it in Waterstones. So in Barnes & Noble. So I just got it today. And now it's on my list of things I want to read before I move in 2 weeks. The pile has grown exponentially actually over the last 24 hours because yesterday it was only 5 books and now it's like however many there are in this video. 10, 8, 9, 11, I don't know, somewhere around there. Anyway, next up we have the other book that I picked up today, and that is Immortal Longings by Chloe Gong. I actually have this really bad habit of buying Chloe Gong books as soon as they're in the shop and then just not reading them. So I have Our Violent Delights, These Violent Delights, not read it. I have Foul Lady Fortune, not read it. I now have Immortal Longings, also obviously not read it because I only bought it today, but this one is on my list to read before I go because it's obviously just like either the first in the series or it's a standalone, and I figured that's probably better than having to read These Violent Delights, Our Violent Ends, and then Foul Lady Fortune. So we're going to get started with this. This is her adult fantasy debut, and I believe it is a retelling of Antony and Cleopatra by Shakespeare. I understand very little about this, only it's some kind of city and there's warring factions and there's like a contest and this girl needs to win the contest to kill the last remaining person standing between her and murdering her whole family. So it sounds murderous and violent and I'm sure I'm going to love every second of it. I also really enjoy this edition. The cover is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Oh, I just noticed there's like numbers embossed. Interesting. And then we've got the most stunning end papers as well. Look at these. Absolutely gorgeous. And then of course the most important bit, it is signed. So very exciting. And then finally, before my memory card fills up, we have Alone With You in the Ether by Olivia Blake, which is also incidentally a Waterstones exclusive edition, but not signed. So this one I believe is a romance, a little bit of a contemporary romance. And again, I know very, very little about it. It says, Alone With You in the Ether is a contemporary love story like no other. Reagan and Aldo will allow us to explore the nature of love, what it means to be unwell, and how to face the fractures of ourselves and still love as if we are not broken. I obsessively buy everything that Olivia Blake writes because she is truly one of my all-time favourite authors. I absolutely love the Atlas 6 trilogy. I absolutely loved One for My Enemy. I really love La Petite Morte. What else have I read by her? I think those are the only ones I have read by her. Masters of Death, I believe, is coming out next month, which is high on my list of things that need to be bought immediately. And I kind of want to get the traditionally published version of One for My Enemy as well, because I now own everything of hers traditionally and also almost everything self-published as well. But yeah, I really, really love her writing. It's very whimsical, it's very lyrical. Her use of language is absolutely exquisite and it just makes me really happy, honestly. Her writing just makes me instantly really, really, really happy. So I really need to read this because this is the last of hers that I haven't read that's on my TBR and I just want to read it before I go. So my friends, that is all of the books that I want to read before I move to the USA in a couple of weeks' time. Follow along to find out if I actually do manage to read all of these books, and also of course to follow along with my moving journey. I am so excited to document it and take you all along with me. But with that, I'm going to leave you here. So I really hope you've enjoyed the video. If you have, as always, please give me a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what you're reading at the moment. Don't forget to subscribe if you are new, and I will see you with another video very, very soon. Bye, guys.